I walked into our apartment 10 minutes earlier than I should have. Her phone had died, so she didn't know I was coming back. That's when I saw her, right there in our bed, with the building's janitor. His stained uniform was on the floor. I stood frozen. She didn't scream. She smirked. That smirk changed my life. I never thought it'd be a guy like that. If she was going to cheat, I figured it'd be with someone slick, someone with money. Not a janitor who smelled like bleach and mold. Not someone who fixed leaking sinks and picked trash out of the stairwell. Her name's Melanie. We'd been together almost 6 years, living in a rent-controlled apartment in Chicago. I worked remote in IT. She worked the front desk at a mid-tier hotel and always said she was too tired for anything after her shifts. I believed her. I always believed her. That morning, her phone had been acting up. She asked to borrow mine so she could check a coupon code for groceries, but I noticed her hand shaking. I offered to walk her to work, just to be sweet. She declined, said I was too clingy lately. I left for a coffee shop to work and realized halfway there I'd left my laptop charger on the counter. I turned around. Our building's elevators were out, so I climbed all 5 floors to our unit. Our door wasn't locked. I thought I'd been robbed at first. There was a jacket on the floor that didn't belong to me. It had a patch that said building maintenance. I opened the bedroom door, and there they were. He was still fully dressed, but she wasn't. She sat on top of him, facing the door. Her eyes met mine. She didn't even flinch. She didn't look embarrassed. She didn't scream. She just raised an eyebrow and said, "Guess you finally figured it out." I couldn't speak. I felt like my throat had been ripped open. My knees locked, but I didn't move. She laughed. Actually laughed. Then she leaned down and whispered something to him, and he chuckled too. His breath fogged up my bedroom window. "I always told him you were too trusting," she said, sitting back up. "You just make it so easy." I backed out of the room. My keys dropped from my hand, and she didn't even look. I remember hearing them hit the floor like they were landing in water. My own place suddenly felt like a stranger's home. She didn't follow me when I left. She didn't even call. I sat in my car outside the building for 3 hours. Didn't cry. Couldn't. Just stared at the dirty windows of our 3rd-floor unit. At 4:12 p.m., she texted me. "So what now? You gonna cry to your little online therapy group?" That was the moment I realized something darker was going on. She wasn't sorry. She was proud. And I wasn't ready for what came next. The next morning, she was already home, sitting on the couch like nothing happened, legs crossed, remote in hand. She wore my hoodie, the one I loaned her when she had a cold last winter, and said it smelled like safety. She looked at me like I was an intruder. "Oh," she said, chewing gum. "You're still alive. That's surprising." I couldn't even look at her straight. My stomach felt like it was folding in on itself. I stood there like some lost delivery guy, holding a brown bag with my own toothbrush and phone charger inside. She didn't move. She just kept flipping channels. "You're not even gonna explain?" I asked. My voice cracked halfway through. She turned to me, slowly. "Explain what? You saw what you saw. You want a monologue or something?" "I want to understand why," I said, barely louder than a whisper. "I thought we were happy," she finished for me, grinning. "God, you're more pathetic than I thought." I felt myself shrinking. I used to think I was quiet because I was respectful. That morning, I realized I was quiet because I was afraid. Of conflict. Of loss. Of being alone. She leaned forward on the couch and locked eyes with me. "You want to know why? Fine. Because he listens to me. Because he doesn't spend all day in Discord calls pretending he's some cybersecurity hotshot. Because he's real. And dirty. And rough. And you," she paused to laugh, "you flinch when I raise my voice." I flinched then. She noticed. "You always flinch," she said, leaning back with satisfaction. "You're not a man. You're a mouse." Her phone lit up with a message. I saw the name, Rudy, maintenance. She didn't bother hiding it. "You know what the best part is?" she continued. "He's not even the only one." I blinked. "Oh yeah," she said. "Rudy's just the one you caught. There was Kyle from the liquor store. Mike from the car wash. Oh, and that guy who collects cans out by the subway. He's got skills, believe it or not." My knees buckled. I sat on the floor because I couldn't stand anymore. She laughed. "You gonna cry now?" she mocked, standing over me. "Should I call your mom? Want her to come pick you up?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat had gone completely dry. "You seriously thought I was loyal to you?" she said, crossing her arms. "You, of all people?" "I forgave you," I said, barely audible. She snorted. "That's your problem. You always forgive. Makes it too easy. She walked past me, heading to the bathroom. But before she shut the door, she leaned her head out and said something I'll never forget. Maybe if you had a spine, you could have kept me. The door slammed. I sat there, alone on the floor, staring at the same carpet I once proposed to her on. And that's when something inside me cracked, not with anger, with silence. A silence that would grow into something else. Something she wasn't ready for. I didn't leave right away. I stayed on that floor for another hour, maybe two. My head rested against the leg of our old coffee table, the same one she said we'd eat dinner on when we bought a house. That house was never going to happen. It was always just something to say when things got awkward between us. My phone buzzed twice. Both texts were from her. Don't forget to pick up your anti-anxiety meds. You're no fun without them. Also, Rudy says thanks for the soap. You left it in the shower. He likes Dove. That one broke me in a new way. It wasn't just that she cheated. It was that she enjoyed making sure I knew it. She was documenting her disrespect. I drove to my brother's place in Evanston. Didn't even knock, just walked in and collapsed on the couch. He didn't say anything. He just tossed me a blanket and let me rot in silence. The next morning, I stared at the ceiling for almost 3 hours. I couldn't stop replaying what she said. You always forgive. Makes it too easy. That line circled my brain like a vulture. And I realized she was right. I always gave people the benefit of the doubt. I forgave her when she maxed out my credit card. I forgave her when she accidentally lost my passport before my first conference in Europe. I forgave her when she kissed her coworker and blamed it on stress. I forgave her because I loved her. But she didn't see love. She saw permission. So I started thinking. I didn't want revenge. Not at first. I just wanted her to hurt the way I was hurting. To feel that same shame, the same isolation. But I didn't want to yell, or destroy your stuff, or key your car. No. I wanted her to feel insignificant. I logged into our shared cloud drive. She forgot I had access. Inside, I found hundreds of photos, receipts, and files she never bothered hiding. Screenshots of texts between her and Rudy. Venmo payments to Kyle. Even a few messages to someone labeled gutter guy. Yes, apparently she slept with the guy who cleans the gutters in our building. There was a $60 payment with the caption extra effort. I felt sick, but I didn't stop. I organized everything into folders. Then I made backups. Then I started a private Google Doc titled Melanie's Downfall. Inside, I began listing everything I could use. She used my health insurance to cover prescriptions for Rudy's chronic rash. She got me to co-sign a credit line that she used to buy gifts for Kyle. She listed me as a reference on a fake employment application to get Rudy a custodial job across town. He'd failed background checks at 3 other places. She didn't just betray me emotionally. She used my name, my reputation, to build her empire of lies. By the end of that day, I had 10 folders, a full timeline, and a sick feeling in my chest that wouldn't go away. I wasn't a fighter. I wasn't even brave. But I had something she didn't think I had. A limit. And she'd finally crossed it. I didn't go back to the apartment. I waited 4 days. I let her think I'd disappeared, sulking somewhere with my tail tucked. Let her imagine me crying in my brother's guest room, clutching old photos of us. Let her feel safe. Then I acted. Melanie had no idea how much of our life I handled. All the bills were under my name. The streaming services, the gym membership, the utilities, even her monthly subscription to that expensive vegan meal kit, all mine. She once said I was the infrastructure of her life. She meant it as a joke. I took it seriously. So I started pulling plugs. First, I went into our Comcast account and downgraded it to the cheapest internet tier, barely enough to load email, let alone stream her endless true crime shows. Then I canceled the Hulu and Netflix accounts, followed by Spotify. I got a text from her the same night. Why is the Wi-Fi garbage? And where's my show? I didn't respond. The next day I logged into our joint bank account. She had no idea I'd been moving my savings out for 2 weeks. I left just enough to look normal, then closed my half. She called me 4 times. I didn't pick up. Then I sent her one single text. Everything you use is because of me. Let's see how independent you really are. She wrote back. Oh my God, are you seriously doing this? You're such a child. I still didn't respond. That silence did more damage than anything I could say. The final blow that week was her gym membership. She prided herself on that place, full of mirrors and influencers, not the cheapest place in town. She once said, if I lose that, I lose my peace. I canceled it. 2 hours later, I got this. You messed with the wrong person. That told me everything I needed to know. She felt it now. For the first time in years, she wasn't in control. Later that night, I emailed the leasing office. Told them I'd be vacating the unit in 30 days and removing my name from the lease. Attached her name and income, or lack of, with a note that I was no longer financially responsible. She hadn't worked a shift in weeks, kept calling out because she was tired. That job wouldn't cover rent. Then I emailed HR at her job. Just one polite message. Hi. Just an FYI, Melanie, last name, listed my personal phone number and business credentials as part of a background check for a third-party individual she referred to your company. I am not associated with this person, nor have I ever approved this. That was for Rudy. I never named him, but they'd figure it out. The next morning, she called 12 times. I blocked her. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't fighting. I was subtracting myself from her life. And she hated it. I thought I had the upper hand. I was wrong. It started with a letter. A real one, not email. White envelope. No return address. I found it taped to the windshield of my car while it was parked outside my brother's place. Inside was a printed screenshot of a police report, my name, my workplace, my driver's license number. Accusation, harassment. Submitted anonymously, but with enough detail to make it seem real. Then a post-it note, stuck to the top of the page, in her handwriting. You want war? Let's play. I felt my throat close. I couldn't breathe. She'd gone nuclear. She didn't stop there. The next morning, I got an email from HR. Someone had sent them an anonymous tip about me abusing company software to stalk a romantic partner. The email included a manipulated screenshot, one of my Slack messages from months ago, cropped to look like I'd been tracking Melanie's location. It was absurd, but not obviously fake. My boss was concerned. We just have to follow protocol, she said. It's probably nothing, but we're putting you on temp leave until it clears. That's when I realized she wasn't just trying to scare me. She was trying to erase me. 3 hours later, my phone buzzed. New email. From Melanie. Subject line. Heads up. Smiley face. Just so you know, Rudy's cousin works for the city housing office. Cute, right? Also, I found that backup drive under the bed. You should be more careful with your secrets. Don't worry, I only skimmed the folder labeled Melanie's downfall. So dramatic. My fingers trembled. She knew. She'd found the document, the timeline, the files, everything I'd gathered. And I'd been dumb enough to leave one of the drives in the apartment. A spare. I thought it was hidden. It wasn't. 10 minutes later, a new Venmo transaction popped up on my phone. $50 sent from her to someone named Devin Pipes. The caption? For the files, winky face. She was shopping me out. I shut down my cloud access instantly. Killed the folders. Deleted the backups from every sync drive. But I knew it didn't matter. She had copies now. She had everything. And she was already making calls. By that evening, a friend of mine from college sent me a message. Hey, weird question, but did you really get fired for stalking your ex? I wanted to scream, but I couldn't even open my mouth. She wasn't just attacking my life. She was erasing my version of the story. She knew how to smile in public. Knew how to twist a narrative, make herself look like the wounded one, the girl who'd been manipulated by a controlling boyfriend. She was good. Too good. And now she was ahead. For the first time since I started this war, I was behind. And I had no idea what she'd do next. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Rudy's cousin at the housing office, Melanie's smirk behind a phone screen, my boss's face when she said the word protocol. I was cornered, but something in me had shifted. I was done reacting. It was time to move with precision. I started with the folder. Melanie's downfall was gone, but I remembered every file, every line. I rebuilt it from memory in a single sitting, this time, offline. No cloud storage. No digital footprint. Just encrypted drives and one printed master copy hidden offsite in a safety deposit box under my brother's name. Then I made a list, not of things to do, but people to watch. Melanie had allies now. Rudy, obviously. His cousin Devin. Maybe more. But what she didn't know was I had access to one thing she didn't. Data. A year ago, I'd helped a friend launch a local property management app. Basic stuff. Rent reminders, maintenance tickets, package logs. But what Melanie forgot was that our building switched to that system last spring. And I still had admin access. I logged in. Pulled logs from the last 2 months. And there it was, timestamped entries of Rudy entering apartments outside of work orders. Specifically, our unit. 13 times over 5 weeks. No tenant request. No supervisor approval. That's a problem. I downloaded the logs, formatted a basic PDF, created a new, anonymous Gmail account, and sent it to the building manager. Your janitor is abusing master key privileges. Thought you should know. See attached. That alone wouldn't take him down. But it was the beginning. Next, I opened another account and sent the same report to the tenants' WhatsApp group. I was still in it under my old number. No name attached. Within hours, the building chat exploded. Wait, Rudy's been in my place too? I never authorized him to check my smoke alarm last month. I swear my laundry detergent keeps going missing. By lunchtime, the manager posted a message. Effective immediately, Rudy has been suspended pending review. I smiled. One move. Quiet. Invisible. Effective. That evening, I found Melanie's old resume. I'd helped her write it 2 years ago. I still had the doc. I scanned every line, then opened LinkedIn. She'd listed a reference I didn't recognize. Operations Manager, Edge West Hotel Group. I Googled him. Didn't exist. The company had no such position. Fake reference. I used a spoofing tool to mimic an HR email and sent a routine background check request to the hotel she'd just started working at. Hi, just confirming previous roles for Melanie, last name, specifically her management-level contacts at Edge West Group. Could you verify? 2 days later, I got a bounce back, forwarded accidentally to my spoofed address. It was from their internal HR. Can someone explain why this candidate has a fake manager on her resume? Background team, flag immediately. I didn't need to fake anything else. She built her new job on a lie. I just gave it a spotlight. 3 days later, she was fired. Not suspended. Fired. And this time, she was the one calling me. I let it ring. No one needed to hear me speak. The silence was loud enough. I should have known she wouldn't take it lying down. I was still riding the high from her job termination when the letter came. Certified mail. Legal envelope. My name printed clean and bold across the front. Inside, a cease and desist order. Accusation, defamation, cyberstalking, unauthorized use of private records. It was from a law office downtown. Real firm. Real signature. Melanie had lawyered up. The language was aggressive. Words like malicious intent, emotional distress, damage to reputation. They threatened to pursue further action if I didn't immediately halt all direct and indirect interference with Ms. last name, as professional and personal life. And just like that, I wasn't the quiet ghost anymore. I was the villain in her story. I stared at the letter for over an hour. Read it again. And again. My hands were ice cold. My heart was racing. I felt like a deer in headlights, paralyzed by the sheer weight of her precision. This wasn't impulsive. This was calculated. She didn't stop there. 2 days later, my landlord texted me. Said someone had submitted a complaint about threatening behavior tied to my old unit. I tried to explain I hadn't lived there for over a month. He didn't care. Said if my name came up again, he'd blacklist me from every property under his management group. Then came the social blow. A post went up on Instagram, Melanie's private account. But screenshots travel fast. It was a picture of a broken laptop screen and a wine glass tipped over next to it. Caption: When your ex won't stop hacking your life. Pray for me, y'all. I wasn't tagged. She didn't name me. But the comments knew exactly who she meant. Girl, are you okay? He always seemed off TBH. That's scary. Stay safe. I watched mutual friends, people I'd known for years, like the post. Some commented. A few even messaged me asking if I was going through something. I wanted to scream. To post the documents. The logs. The photos. Everything I had. But I didn't. Because I finally understood her strategy. She didn't need to win. She just needed to make it too messy for me to keep playing. That night, I checked my email and saw a message from her. Just one line. You don't get to rewrite me. I sat alone in my car for almost 2 hours. Didn't go inside. Didn't touch my phone. She'd flipped the game. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was trying to survive it. I spent 3 days doing nothing. I didn't answer messages. Didn't check social media. Didn't touch the cease and desist. I let the noise pile up around me, suffocating. But I didn't move. I waited. Because this time, I needed to hit her where she'd never expect. Melanie thrived on public image. She was the bad girl with a good heart. The one who posted photos with abandoned kittens and then turned around and laughed at homeless men asking for change. The one who cried about being misunderstood while destroying anyone who actually understood her. Her biggest lie wasn't what she did. It was how she made it look like she hadn't. And that's where I went next. I reached out to the only person she still feared, her mother, Diana. Melanie hated when I talked to her mom behind her back. Said it was manipulative. The truth? Diana liked me. A lot. She once told me, "You're the first man she can't control," and that scares her. I scheduled a visit. Brought coffee and a smile. We sat in her living room, same floral couch I helped move 3 summers ago. "Tell me," she said, "why do you look like you've aged 10 years? I didn't answer directly. I just opened my laptop and showed her one thing, a PDF. It was a record of Melanie's shared credit card, the one she never knew I could still access. Every purchase, every late-night Uber to unknown addresses, every gift to men named Kyle, Rudy, and Gigi, short for gutter guy, probably. I didn't say a word. I just let her scroll. Diana was quiet for a long time. Then she spoke. "And you stayed with her after all this?" I nodded. "Because I thought she'd come back. Because I thought I was the problem." She closed the laptop. "You were the only thing keeping her presentable." That night, Melanie called me 5 times. I didn't answer. The next morning, I emailed her lawyer. Simple, professional. "Please note that I have not engaged in any direct or indirect communication or interference since receiving your letter. However, I reserve the right to privately defend my name with factual evidence to personal contacts who request clarification." Translation: You drew blood. I made sure your mother saw it. Then I went one step further. I uploaded a password-protected archive of Melanie's fake resume entries, credit misuse, and falsified HR referrals to a private Dropbox link. I sent that link anonymously to 2 people. Her former employer's compliance team. A freelance journalist who covers workplace fraud scandals. No captions. No message. Just the facts. By Friday, I got a tip from a friend in PR. Someone was sniffing around her old company, asking about a falsified referral scandal involving terminated staff. Melanie hadn't just lost her job. She was becoming unhireable. And now, I had the one thing she always denied me. Narrative control. I thought I'd buried her. I thought the damage was done, career in ruins, reputation cracked, family turned cold. But I forgot what makes people like Melanie so dangerous. They don't need to fix the truth. They just need to rewrite it faster than you can prove it. It started with a podcast. Some healing influencer posted an episode titled "Surviving the Narcissist, My Year in Darkness." I knew that voice within the first 20 seconds. It was Melanie. She never used my name, of course. She used words like emotional coercion, financial control, technology abuse. She said her ex-boyfriend had tried to ruin her life after she reclaimed her identity. She even cried, right there on the mic. It worked. The episode exploded. Shared, reposted, praised. Comments rolled in. "You're so brave for sharing this. I was in the same kind of situation. I hope that man gets help." She didn't just survive the fallout. She weaponized it. 3 days later, she launched a personal blog, reclaimingmel.com, full of curated photos, gentle colors, a donation button for legal fees, and a quote at the top. "They tried to silence me. I chose to speak." And then the real blow hit. I received a letter from her lawyer, not an email this time. A physical letter. Inside was a formal notice that she was pursuing civil damages. Reputation harm. Income disruption. Emotional trauma. They were suing me. I laughed when I first read it. Then I realized this wasn't a bluff. They drafted a real claim. I wasn't a fighter. Not in courtrooms. Not with public narratives. And now she had the upper hand in both. She was invited to speak at a panel on emotional abuse and power imbalances. She published an article on Medium that started with a poem and ended with a subtle jab at digital stalkers who hide behind spreadsheets and shame. I watched as people followed her, defended her, donated to her, celebrated her. And I sat there, jobless, alone, reputation hollowed out, wondering if I'd lost everything while she rebuilt herself from my ashes. She'd won. She had turned me into the villain. She had turned herself into the phoenix. But then, something strange happened. A message landed in my inbox. No subject line. No sender name. Just one sentence. "If you want to know what she's hiding, look into the tax forms." Attached was a PDF. It was a copy of a recent 1099 form filed by Melanie, under someone else's name. Same address. Same account. But the name? Devin Pipes. Rudy's cousin. The one who worked in the city office. The one she swore she barely knew. The form showed over $17,000 in contractor payouts, all processed through a platform registered to her LLC, a company she publicly claimed she dissolved after leaving her job. That's not just fraud. That's federal. I stared at the file for a long time, and for the first time in weeks, I felt still. Because Melanie had just made a mistake. A real one. And she had no idea I was holding it. I didn't rush. I read that 1099 form every morning for a week. It wasn't just proof of fraud, it was a thread. I pulled it. Slowly. Carefully. I found more. Venmo transactions disguised as consulting fees. LLC paperwork with falsified dates. She'd been funneling payments through Rudy's cousin for months. And if I traced the money all the way back, some of it came from government funds. Grant money. Federal. This wasn't some petty personal revenge anymore. This was prison time. And I had it all. On paper. In screenshots. In backup drives. I printed 2 full packets. One for the IRS. One for the Attorney General's office. I had the envelopes. I had the postage. I stood there at the mailbox, ready to drop them in. That's when she showed up. No warning. No call. Just footsteps behind me, and then her voice. Please, don't. I turned around. It was the first time I'd seen her in person since the day I caught her in our bed. She looked thinner. Makeup smudged. Voice shaking. She walked closer, holding nothing. No lawyer. No fake tears. Just her. I know what you have, she said. I figured it out when Devin stopped responding to me. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. She stepped in front of me, hands shaking. I made mistakes. You know I did. I ruined what we had. I destroyed it. I hurt you worse than anyone deserves. But please. She dropped to her knees. Actual knees. In the middle of a sidewalk. By a mailbox. She didn't care who saw. Please don't do this. Please don't end my life like this. I have nothing left. I'll disappear. I'll leave the city. I'll sign whatever you want. Just don't bury me. Tears. Real ones, I think. She reached out, hands trembling against mine. I looked down at the envelopes. Then at her. Then back at the box. And I took a step back. I tore them in half. Quietly. One by one. Until the documents fluttered to the ground like useless paper. She sobbed. She whispered, "Thank you." I turned and started walking. She didn't follow. She stayed on the ground, shaking, surrounded by her own wreckage. And me? I felt nothing. No victory. No peace. No pain. Just emptiness. And as I walked away for the last time, I heard my own voice in my head, quiet, flat, final. What would you have done in my place?